Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Ryan getting destroyed in the Delaney's OK Tire Langley inbox. Sort of. All of our guests today, including Ian Furness, are brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, located oceanside. I'll probably make up the wrong read here. But check out Bayside.
See, this is how rattled you are.
Beautiful
Because the domination I've provided.
No, I'm checking out just how much I'm dominating you in the inbox.
You're getting ripped, Ryan. You're getting ripped.
All of our guests today, including Ian, are brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub, one of Victoria's favorite local watering holes, located 10 minutes from the ferry terminal. The two-time #1 pub in Victoria invites you to see why they are a go-to watering hole. The Waddling Dog has welcomed back the Canucks and the NHL season by extending their hours so you don't have to miss any of the action. Come, sit, and stay until the final whistle. Just before we get to Ian, where do I start when it comes to the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox?
Got some good ones.
When it comes to Ryan getting destroyed? Well, you go ahead.
Hold on a sec here. I put it in.
I've got a hard time finding one.
Good, you're right on top of it.
No, it was Rip and Ryan.
Well, here's what.
Go.
I'll go here.
Go.
Tony in Abbotsford. The atmosphere at Rogers is like a morgue most times anyways. More comfortable seats will just give people less reason to stand up and cheer. Bring back wooden benches.
Oh, my
This is
God.
Tony in Abbotsford.
Oh,
It's a
my
good point.
God.
You don't want people falling asleep at the game in a lazy boy.
Yeah.
You don't
Build
want people
character with those wooden seats.
Yeah, sure.
You may want to build character on the ice.
Rick hasn't been in the building in 25 years, and Taylor only sits in areas where people feed him food into his mouth.
But the key is,
As opposed to somewhere else?
yeah.
Let's bring in Ian here.
He's gone. He left.
Brought to you by the Waddling Dog. Ian Furness, KJR Sports Radio in Seattle. How are you, sir?
Good, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Any issue with the seats at Lumen or at Climate Pledge?
No.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll go down that. I haven't sat in a Lumen seat outside of the press box in 15, 16, 17 years, I guess. So I can't speak on that. Climate Pledge, I don't think I've sat in a regular seat there. So no complaints. Yeah, they're fine. Press box is okay.
Big mistake asking a member of the media this question.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, none of us know. What do we know? Like, we're all. Ryan's right. We're all coddled. It's like, oh yeah, here's here's your media food, and here's your seat with a nice view. Yeah, no, listen. We can't relate to the average fan, nor should we ever try. I have no idea what the debate's about, but I guess when your hockey team's struggling, then you go down the road of seats in the stadium, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So be it. Okay.
Next up, washrooms. Yeah.
Or bathrooms, as we'd say down in the States. Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes. Lavatories.
Yeah, lavatories. Yeah. Seahawks 5-3. They beat the Giants 27-13 on Sunday. The previously 6-1 Giants. Very impressive. But Ian, I want to ask you this: what do you make of Tyler Lockett's post-game comments? His quote: "It's amazing what you can accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit." Is that a shot at Russell Wilson? And we've had him on the show. Tyler Lockett, nicest guy in the world. Is that a shot at Wilson?
Well, he came out and denied it later and said, "I don't know why you guys are making a big deal of this, but I think it was a shot, absolutely." But Tyler's not going to come out and say, "Yeah, I was taking a shot at Russ," right? Like I was taking a direct shot at a friend of mine, but listen, what he said, even if he doesn't believe that, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for a moment, but. Tyler is a very good interview. Like you said, you guys have had him on the show. When you ask Tyler a question, you get about a 2-minute answer most of the time. Usually pretty well thought out.
Yes.
So I thought it was an interesting dynamic to have Tyler, DK, and Gino all at the mic at the same time. Never seen that before. A little solidarity, unity they're showing with each other, the offensive leaders. And, again, if Tyler truly didn't believe that, and it was just like he misspoke a little bit, well, there's a lot of other guys in that room that do believe that.
Seahawks defense struggled, the first month of the season, Ian? They've turned things around. We saw evidence of that against the Giants. What's made the difference?
Well, they're more aggressive, and they're playing a little bit more heavy on the front. I mean, it's one of the things they had done is a lot of times, the 3-4, 4-3, all the schematics that you talk about in football, they have gone to a lot more a heavier front four, fronts five, whatever it might be. Sometimes, front five, I guess, with 3 true defensive linemen. And, what they call linemen now, what they call linebackers now is kind of harder to visualize from what we think of. You always think of like 4 linemen, big guys, and then 3 linebackers back, right? 4 and 3. Well, what they have now is the linebackers are on the line of scrimmage, the 2 outside linebackers, and they have 1 or 2 linebackers I call stack linebackers, Jordan Brooks being the key one behind them. But in the middle of that defensive line, they've gone bigger and heavier. Guys like Shelby Harris and Brian Monet, Al Woods, Poona Ford, all stepping up and playing, quality snaps for this football team. And then, Bruce Irvin's helped a little bit the last couple of weeks. He's played a lot of snaps at the age of 35 now. Nwosu's played really well. But I talked to Shelby Harris after the game, and he said a lot of it is just, and Cliff Averill, actually, the former Seahawks, said the same thing off the air. They're just playing faster and more aggressive going forward. They were kind of reading and reacting before. They're playing a little more aggressive, and they're a lot heavier up front. So, some minor tweaks schematically and personnel-wise. And sometimes we want to oversimplify things or over analyze things. Guys, they're just playing harder. And there was a little bit of a sense of pride. In football, I made this analogy in our post-game report on Fox 13, I said, there's 2 sports that really are want-to sports. That, like if you want to, there's no analytic in the world, there's no scheme in the world, there's no X's and O's in the world that can overcome want to. And it's football and hockey. It's really that simple. I mean, do you want to win the one-on-one battle in the corner and get the puck? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. In football, do you want to get off that block and make the play? Yes, you do. And I think there's a lot more want to on this defense right now.
Ian, a very interesting article, Ron Francis in the Seattle Times. He talked about Shane Wright. He had an interesting observation. 10 games in 18 days for the Kraken. He says not much practice time. They can't get the kid enough practice time. He didn't sound like he wants to send him back to junior. What's your thoughts on Shane Wright?
We had a long discussion about this, and of all places, the Seahawk press box pregame on Sunday, guys. Wow. It's funny. Tim Booth from the AP and Curtis Crabtree works with me at Fox 13. We were all discussing it. I think there's a slow play here, right? Because he's a world. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's a world junior kid. Like he'll play World Juniors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the slow play here is, get a game or 2 here or there in. He can do, they don't practice a lot as a team, but he can still get some ice time when they have the optionals out there. Get to December, get the World Juniors underneath you, and then when you come back second half of the season, maybe there's some more ice time to be had. I just don't think there's any reason. Look, there's an eye test. We all know what it looks like. You know what a kid looks like when he needs to go back to juniors, right? You can see it. Yeah. There's no indication this is a guy that needs to go back to juniors. I kind of go back to the Matt Barzal thing a few years ago when he came back to Seattle, and Matty needed to come back, and he had some things left to prove, and he came back to Seattle. They ended up winning a title, but at the same time, just body type and everything else, and killing penalties, different things that the Islanders wanted to see him do. There was a reason for him to come back. I don't think there's any reason for Shane Wright to go back to juniors. He just doesn't ever look out of place. I think they're just slowly playing him into the lineup, and then they win a game or 2, and they're not going to take him out. Are not going to change the lineup. They go with what they've had when they've won some games lately. So, in fact, Hackstall said that yesterday. He said, hey, we won. We're coming off a nice win over Pittsburgh, and we're not going to change our lineup. You usually don't change your lineup after a win. So I think he'll just kind of slowly kind of ease into it. And I sure hope he plays more in the second half. I'm not worried as much about the first half, but I'd like to see him play a lot more in the second half after the World Juniors.
Last year, this time, goal scoring was an issue for the Kraken. Not this time. And in fact, they got the 7th-ranked power play in the NHL right now. But like the Canucks, their PK is horrible. I think they're tied with the Canucks for 31st overall in the PK. So special teams up and down right now for the Kraken.
Well, listen, I think it's safe to say you never want to be tied with the Canucks in anything, right? Because that's a pretty much, that means you're at the bottom of the ledger.
Easy. We're on a 2-game winning streak. Easy.
Mm. And he did beat the Kraken the other night. I did notice that. Yeah. But the penalty kill's a curious one because you have a defensive-minded coach. So I'm not quite sure how that works out. And they got Tanev back, who's a good penalty killer. Yanni Gord's a good penalty killer. Wemberg should be a good penalty killer. They're bad. Their blue line's not great by any means, but it is good for the power play. I mean, Schultz has certainly helped. Burakovsky has helped. Bjorkstrand hasn't put up the numbers yet, but he has helped. I mean, they're better. They're more talented. Having Schwartz back, off the injury last year. I mean, he missed a good chunk of the second half of the season. So they've got more talent on the offensive side.
That's right.
And they have a guy that can run the power play. Who I thought when they brought him in here, I thought, well, just a cast off from Washington or what have you. And no, he's far from that. Yeah, he's a veteran. He's the back nine of the career, so to speak. But he certainly helped them a lot in that regard. The penalty kill is a curious thing. Sometimes your best penalty killer is your goaltender. And I think just now after the win in Pittsburgh, Jones finally went over the 90% save percentage mark. So, I mean, he was in the 86, 87, 88 range for a while. We know Grubauer's still out for a bit. He's week to week. So, your goaltender's got to be better, and maybe he's getting a little bit better in that regard. And, fine young man from North Van, he'll get going. He's a good guy, Good guy.
Big win over the Penguins, though, on Saturday. Hey, Ian, back to football. I didn't see this, but did Pete Carroll have anything to say about his sideline interference penalty late in the game against the Giants?
No, he kind of. I mean, it ended up not hurting them at all.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the first down. It was a dead ball foul. It's just Pete being Pete. Usually, he's got a sideline guy there, kind of keeping him back, and he just got a little overexcited, a little exuberant, and. Of all the things that happened in that game, that was Now, if it would have happened at a critical juncture, that'd be a different deal. But they got the first down to kind of ice the game away, and he's jumping all over the place, being Pete. But he's done a remarkable job this year. He really has, and there's a lot of people in this market, and there's a lot of people nationwide that over the offseason, especially after the Russell Wilson trade and going to training camp, thought that this guy had lost his marbles, even going back to last year. That Pete Carroll wasn't the coach he used to be, and like Father Time was going to catch up with him or something. And I think we've talked about it on this show before. Pete Carroll didn't get dumb overnight by any means. You still have to have players, and John Schneider, his GM, went out and they got a hell of a draft class. And they, Nuosu was a free agent signing, was a big pickup for them. They got better personnel wise, but he can coach. Like he can flat out coach, and guys play for him. And, it's a cycle. It's like college football. Like he's got this whole new group of guys in. I'll give you a number. They have 7 players left that are starting, 4 on offense, 3 on defense from the playoff team of just 2 years ago. There's only 13 of 53 guys on the 53-man roster. Only 13 remain from that playoff team of 2020. You know what they did without telling anybody and never using the word? They rebuilt this football team over the last 2 years.
Oh, don't say that. Okay.
I hate the word too. And I don't listen. My favorite line of all time is when Ray comes on with you guys and he talks about you and Moj, right, Donnie? The no plan, right? Well, the no plan. Most teams have that. These guys had a plan, and they rebuilt the team without ever using that word. But I went back and looked at it yesterday because I thought this is strange. Like they're only 2 years removed from being a 12-4 football team and a playoff team. I mean, it was a COVID year of 2020, but they have 4 offensive guys and 3 defensive guys that were starters on that 2020 team, and only 13 remain from that team on the 53-man roster right now. It's remarkable. They have flipped that roster over the course of 2 years, and they're certainly on the uptick. They got a long way to go. There's a lot of football left. I know that. But if they just go 3 and, I mean, for them not to have a winning record, they'd have to go 3-6 the rest of the way. And if they have 4 wins the rest of the way, that's probably good enough to get in the postseason this year.
By the way, I was just kidding. I'm all for rebuild. I know. They've done it in spectacular fashion.
It's the no plan. It's the no plan you don't like, right? That's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, Ray coined that, and he's bang on. Hey, Ian, thanks for this.
Anytime, fellas, and hopefully the seats are more comfortable for your next concert or whatever you end up doing.
I'm fine with the seats.
Rogers Arena. What is it? Rogers what? What is it up there?
It's Rogers Arena, and it's going to be that way for the next 10 years, as we found out yesterday. And apparently they have plans for the seats. So we'll get back to you on that, Ian.
It's good that they've got that kind of money to spend, old Rogers, huh?
Yeah,
good for them. Yeah. Deep pockets, I hear.
Somehow they came up with it. All right, Ian, thank you. I appreciate it. Ian Furness.